Hi, my name is John, and I'm an addict in recovery. And today I want to talk about change. And a few things that I heard um, when I first came around about change. Actually, there was quite a few things, some slogans that were thrown at me when I first came around about change. A friend of mine who's dying from the AIDS virus, as a result of his using. He told me before I moved to Mississippi, that either you move on change or change will move you. And another one that I heard was either you change in here or you be asking for change out there. Um, and so there quite a few slogans that have to do with change, and you know doing things differently, like I've had quite a few experiences when I had to do with change, and like major changes, like like one of the major changes was like having to move from New York to Mississippi, because like like I had to put like a wall there, so that I won't be able to do the things that I was able to do, because I wasn't changing. Like in New York, I was, there was some things that I needed to change, legally in my life, and I wasn't able to change those things because it was so easy to do things illegally, and so I found it difficult to change that, because there was nothing to like motivate me, and like so what I did was I kind of put some obstacles in the way, by moving to Mississippi, where you need a license to pretty much to take a shit or to do anything at all in Mississippi. I mean, they won't allow you to do anything, without some type of license or some type of legal actions or something like that, and uh and so like that was the obstacle, that was what I put, to make it difficult for me, so that I would have to turn around and start changing and doing things legally, and that was just one of the few things that I ended up doing. As I got old in my recovery, like I ended up gaining like 350 something pounds, because I was eating a whole lot, and like, like I guess it was a food addiction, but I pretty much ate, like I just ate for comfort, I ate for all the different reasons, and ended up blowing up, and next thing I know I had diabetes, and like, and I didn't, I found myself, deteriorating, and I needed to do something about it, so I ended up having to, like do do some research and finding something to help me change. And what I did was, like I went and had a gastro bypass, which wasn't an easy thing to do, but like I went through all the, whatever I had to do to get that bypass. And then like, I had to learn, like I had to, like, because they shut your stomach down, and then you can only eat a little bit of food, so you're like forced to change the way you eat, like you're forced, so I put this obstacle in my way so that I would be able to change. And like a lot of times that's pretty much what ends up happening, like in order for me to have stopped using, like I had to like put an obstacle there too, which was like changing people, places, and things, getting around different people, talking to different people. And that, it took it becomes an obstacle, because like if you continue to hold on to the same people, then you tend to think that there's nothing wrong and that you don't need to change anything. So anyway, I ended up having that gastro bypass, and I went through some major changes, like even to, like change the way I eat, and, like going through some major things and learning how to eat all over again. And like starting from day one, kind of like eating, like as a baby and stuff, because I had to start with a little bit of food. But that's just one of those other changes that I had to do, and I remember another time that, like I found out how difficult it was to change, like I turned around and I had a refrigerator and it wasn't closing correctly, and the refrigerator door like was kind of lopsided or something. There was something wrong with the refrigerator that it wouldn't close, and there was always a little gap, opening, and I investigated it and I found out that you could change, the handle from one side to the other side of the door and open it, you know, open it, from from left to right instead of from right to left. So like when I did that, when I changed the door handles, like I found myself always reaching for the left side, when I should have been reaching for the right side, or for the right side when I should have been reaching for the left side. But like I found myself like reaching for the wrong side all the time because I was so used to opening the door one way, and it's a lot like like the things that we have to do to change, because we find ourselves having to turn around and automatically reach out for those things. There's a reason why they turn around and tell you, like, if you don't have anywhere to go, don't just leave your house without a destination, because a lot of times you'll end up in those same places that you ended up when you were using, because if you just walk out the door, you ain't got nowhere to go, you might end up in one of those places as a force of habit. So like changing is a difficult thing. Like it's important to and a lot of it starts with the way you think and the way our mentality, and there's a lot of books written on behavior and all that, and modification and all that stuff. But like it all starts with our thinking, and with the beliefs that we have, and of course, sometimes you can change certain things. I mean, like if you end up, getting locked up and because something you did wrong, I'm sure that either you're going to stop doing that or you're going to continue to be a criminal. Like you're going to keep on doing it because maybe you don't see anything wrong with, like you think that the government is unfair or whatever. It's kind of like when I was out there, and every time, like when I was using it, I would get arrested. Like I was always thinking the police was picking on me. Like they were picking on me. It wasn't that I was doing anything wrong. Them suckers was picking on me. And it's kind of humorous, but that's pretty much how I thought. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of that thinking had to change. And like the literature, of Narcotics Anonymous says that recovery is an active change of attitudes and ideas. Recovery is an active change of attitudes and ideas. I had to repeat that because, sometimes we miss it the first time around. But like, when I looked up the word attitude, it says system of belief, like, like my beliefs had to change, my systems of belief, the way I thought, that had to change, so, you know, um, there's a lot that's entailed in you needing to change. Um, and But anyway, I think you get the drift of what I'm trying to say. And change we must. If you want to survive in recovery, you definitely need to change. Change is one of those things that you definitely have to do, and even no matter how difficult it is, it's important. To to start trying to do something and to make a conscious effort to do it, because like when you become conscious of the problem and you turn around and you start doing something about it, usually like when you become aware is when you start thinking about doing something about it. So, and we can change, though. We can change. I used to think that we couldn't, like that was one of my thinkings, that I thought that I couldn't change, that that I was going to be the same, that everything was always going to be the same, that I was going to die the way that I was, living. But like that had to change also. All dogs do learn new tricks. So you know and but this it's a beautiful process, and recovery, like the 12 steps do really help you to change a lot of the way that you see things and the way you behave, but your thinking, your thinking of course needs to change. But like sometimes it doesn't matter what you think, it matters what you do. So no matter how you think or no matter what you say, it's always important what you do. Really, when it comes down to it, it's your behavior that counts. You know, it matters what you do, you know, like, and you may end up feeling better about yourself as a result of doing things better. You know, like, you know, if you continue to feel like garbage or like shit, you know, it may have something to do with the things that you're doing. You know, a lot of times, you know, people can't sleep in the program, and they think that, that they have a hard time sleeping, and it's because sometimes they're drinking too much Mountain Dew, or they're drinking too much coffee, or, you know, like they drink coffee late, or they drink Mountain Dew, you know, like, drinks that have caffeine in it, you know, like Red Bull and all that, and then they're sitting there wondering why they can't sleep at night. So it all has to do with behavior. Like, if you change that behavior, eventually, like, you can change the way you think, and you can change the way you do things, and the way you look at things. So, if nobody tell you they love you today, I love you, and so does God of my understanding. Thanks for listening.